Hello viewers, how are you? Welcome to my channel Physics with Rams. So today we are going to start new chapter gravitation. So before going to start this chapter, those who are new to my channel, please subscribe my channel so that you will get notifications regarding my channel, and please watch my previous videos. Let's start this topic. In this video we are going to discuss about introduction of gravitation as well as the Kepler laws. So in the early days of humanity, people used to consider why the sun is moving from east to west, why it is not returning back in the same direction where it is going. Later on they had a doubt why the moon is moving from east to west, why it is not returning back from west to east where it is going. Like this, they had a lot of doubts. As the doubts are increasing in the early days of humanity, they had concluded that the force is acting in between heavenly bodies which are holding the sun as well as moon as well as other stars, so that they are appearing around that. Based on that concept itself, they had concluded that a force is acting on the body without a contact. Based on this concept, Ptolemy had explained geocentric theory around 2000 years back itself, and according to this theory, Earth is present at the center. Earth is present at the center, as well as the sun and moon, as well as the remaining planets are revolving around the Earth, and it is represented as geocentric theory. Geo means Earth is present at the center. And around 500 AD, Aryabhatta, who is our Indian greatest scientist, had given heliocentric theory. Means around 1500 years back itself, Aryabhatta had discussed about heliocentric theory. According to this heliocentric theory, sun is at the center, all the planets including Earth as well as natural satellites are revolving around the sun. Since there is no communication between east and west countries, this theory has not been passed from our country to other countries. Later on, Copernicus, who had lived between 1573 to 1543, observe that almost 60-70 years. In this time, he had proposed heliocentric theory. And we know about this heliocentric theory. Sun is present at the center and all the planets are revolving around the sun. And this theory has not been accepted by the priests present in the church. Why? Because they had accepted this geocentric theory. Since they had accepted this, they are not ready to accept this heliocentric theory. So this theory has been held at that moment itself. Later on, Galileo, who is a great scientist at that time, who proposed the inertia of the body at that time, had accepted this heliocentric theory, and he passed the message that sun is present at the center and all the planets are revolving around the sun. Later on, the priests opposed the Galileo also. And they prisoned the Galileo. Later on, Tycho Brahe, who lived in between 1546 to 1601, had studied astronomy about the sun as well as the planets as well as these stars, everything he had studied. Later on, the disciple of Brahe, who is nothing but Kepler, who had lived in between 1571 to 1640, had accepted this heliocentric theory and proposed Kepler laws. And here we have three Kepler laws. The first law is known as law of orbits. Whereas the second law is known as law of areas. and the third law is known as a law of time period. Law of time period. So these three laws were accepted in this time. Later on Newton had compiled these Kepler laws, and here Newton had given universal law of gravitation, which is acceptable through all the galaxies. So take a screenshot, we will continue. Now we are going to discuss about first law, Kepler's first law, and it is also known as law of orbits. Observe the definition: all planets revolve around the sun in elliptical orbit with sun at one of the foci of ellipse. So here we consider a ellipse by considering a major axis as well as a minor axis, whereas the planet is revolving around this ellipse. Here the sun can be present at this foci as well as the sun can be present at that foci. So if we consider the planet at this position, then from the foci the distance of the planet is represented as r1, whereas similarly from this foci f2 the distance of the planet is represented as r2, where the sum of the distances r1 plus r2 remains constant. It remains constant. So here observe that here we had represented a major axis as well as a minor axis. Based on this axis itself, we are representing the rotation of the planet by considering law of orbits. Suppose if the planet is present at this location, then based on this foci f1 and f2, then the distances are represented as r1 as well as r2, and again r1 plus r2 remains same constant. Suppose if we consider the planet at this location, then r1 and r2 are represented. Suppose if we consider the planet at this location, then r1 and r2 are represented like this. So based on the sun along the major or minor axis, we can represent the condition by of law of orbits. Whereas observe that this the distance of closest approach of the planet near to the sun is represented as perigee. The distance of closest approach of planet to the sun is known as perigee, whereas the largest distance of sun to the planet is known as apogee. Whereas based on the distance, here this perigee is represented as a into 1 minus c, and apogee represented as a into 1 plus c, where e is eccentricity. Take a screenshot, we will continue. Now we are going to discuss about second law, or we can also call it as law of areas. Come to the case, observe this definition: the line joining the planet to the sun sweeps out equal areas in equal intervals of time, or we can also define it as areal velocity of radius vector is a constant. So let us consider the ellipse. Once again, by considering the minor and major axis. Now here we consider the sun at this location. Let us consider the planet is present in this area, and the planet moving with velocity v1, whereas the radius vector is r1. Suppose if we consider the planet at this location, and velocity at this point is v2 and radius vector at this point is r2. So based on this statement, now we have to prove that this area swept by the planet is equals to the area swept by the planet at this location, at this area. Now observe this, it is a triangle, and we know that area of triangle is half into base into height. So here we consider half, base is v1 and height is r1. Similarly, if we consider this triangle, area of this triangle is represented as half into base v2 into r2. Based on this, here this area of this triangle is equal to area of this triangle. So as we equate these two equations, here the resultant expression can be given as half v2 r2 is equal to half v1 r1. Observe that half gets cancelled on both sides. So here we get v1 r1 is equal to v2 r2. Observe that this v1 and r1 is equal to v2 r2. Based on this, we can represent that velocity is inversely proportional to radius vector. Aerial velocity of a radius vector is constant. Vr is equal to constant, and based on that we can represent that v is inversely proportional to r. As the radius vector increases, velocity of the planet decreases. Now we can also represent the same expression by considering law of conservation of angular momentum, and here we know that law of conservation of angular momentum represent the initial angular momentum is equal to final angular momentum, nothing but L1 is equal to L2, where angular momentum is given based on the formula L is equal to mrv. As we equate both the expressions, observe that m into mass is same for the planet, r1 v1 is equal to m into r2 v2. So m gets cancelled. Observe this expression, v1 r1 is equal to v2 r2. So we can represent v into r is equal to constant, and also we can represent v is inversely proportional to r. Velocity is inversely proportional to radius vector. Based on that, we can represent that a planet sweeps equal areas in equal intervals of time based on the law of areas. Take a screenshot, we will continue. Now we are going to discuss about Kepler's third law, or we can also represent it as law of a time period. Observe the definition. The square of the time period of a revolution of a planet is proportional to the cube of semi-major axis of the ellipse traced out by the planet. According to this statement, if we consider the sun is present at the center, as well as the planets are revolving around the sun based on the semi-major axis. Semi-major axis. So here we consider the sun at this location. So as you observe this, initially the first planet is present at this location at a radius vector of r1. Then the time period of revolution of the planet is given as t1. Whereas when we consider the planet, second planet at this location with a radius vector of r2, then the time period of revolution is represented as t2. If we consider the third planet which is orbiting in the third ellipse of radius vector r3, then the time period of revolution is represented as t3. Just like our planets, as you observe that the earth will complete one revolution in 365 days, whereas Mercury completes its revolution in less than 100 days. In the same way, we can represent this time period of revolution. Based on that, we can consider that a time period is directly proportional to radius vector. But here observe that the time period is represented as the square of the time period, whereas the distance is represented based on the cube of semi-major axis. So if we consider the time periods as t1 and t2 with the radius vectors r1 and r2, then t1 square by t2 square is equal to r1 cube by r2 cube. R1 cube by RT cube. This represents the expression for law of time periods. Take a screenshot, we will continue. Now we are going to solve a numerical based on this third law. Observe that a Saturn year is 29.5 times the Earth year. How far is the Saturn from the Sun if the Earth is 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 kilometer away from the Sun? Here we consider the Sun as well as the Earth is at a distance of 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 kilometer, and here we consider Saturn. Now we have to represent this distance r2. Whereas here the condition here given is a time period of Saturn is equals to 29.5 times the time of Earth. 29.5 times the time of Earth. So we know that law of time periods, and this can be represented as a T, time period of Saturn, by time period of Earth whole square is equals to distance of the Saturn by distance of the Earth whole cube. Here we have to represent the distance of the Saturn from the Sun. So we require r suffixes. For that we just apply cube root on both sides. As we apply cube root on both sides, it can be represented as r suffix s by r suffix e is equals to t suffix s by t suffix e whole to the power of 2 by 3. Then distance of the Saturn is equals to distance of the Earth into t suffix s by t suffix e whole to the power of 2 by 3. After that, time period of Saturn is 29.5 times that of Earth, and radius of the Earth or distance of the Earth is 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 kilometers into 29.5 of times of time period of Earth by time period of Earth. Time period of Earth gets cancelled, and here we have power of 2 by 3. Under root of 29.5 whole to the power of 1 by 3 can be represented as 3.1. So it can be represented as 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 into 3.1 whole square. So 3.1 whole square can be represented as 3.1 into 3.1, nothing but 31 into 93, 16. So here we get a 1.5 into 10 to the power of 8 into 9.6. So as we multiply 9.6 into 15, 1.5, 5, 6 are 30, next 5 9s are 45, 40 plus 3, 8, and again 6, 9 ones are 9, 0, 8 plus 6 is 14, and also that 14. After 2 digits we have to place a decimal point, so it can be represented as 14.4 into 10 to the power of 8 kilometers, or we can also represent it as 1.44 into 10 to the power of 9 kilometers. So this is the distance of the Saturn from the Sun. Take a screenshot, we will continue. Then observe the next problem. The mean distance of Mars from the Sun. The mean distance of Mars from the Sun is 1.524 times that of Earth from the Sun. Find the number of years required for Mars to make one revolution about the Sun. So here we consider the third law, and according to third law we know that the time period of Mars by time period of Earth whole square is equals to distance of the Mars by distance of the Earth whole cube. So here we have to represent the time period of Mars. Whereas if we bring this square or apply square root on both sides, then here we can represent it as t suffix m by t suffix e is equals to r suffix m by r suffix e whole to the power of 3 by 2. And here we know that time period of Earth is 1 year. Time period of Earth is 1 year. As well as observe that here he had represented that the distance of Mars from Sun is 1.524 times that of Earth. So based on that we can represent r suffix m is equals to 1.524 r suffix e. As we substitute these two values in this expression, here then we can represent the time period of Mars. T suffix m is equals to T suffix e into R suffix m by R suffix e whole to the power of 3 by 2, where T suffix e is 1 into R suffix m is 1.524 R suffix e by R suffix e. R suffix e gets cancelled. Observe that 1.524 whole to the power of 3 by 2 under root of 1.524 under root of 1.524 whole cube. As we apply the square root, here approximately we get 1.24 whole cube. On solving this, we get 1.88 years. So this is the time period of revolution of the Mars around the Sun. Take a screenshot. I hope that you liked my video. Please give a like to this video, share this video to your friends, and don't forget to subscribe my channel.